Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new On the Mark TV and radio from Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our media partners at Agawam Media and Southwick Community Television. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and this half hour we're going to chat with my co-host, Bob Plasse, who has a program here on our network called Wow. It's Tuesdays. It's part of Westfield on Weekends programs and services. And you've got a lot of events coming up this fall.
You look, what am I wearing?
You are in the official pumpkin spice colors of Pumpkinfest.
I didn't realize that orange has there are different shades of orange because I wear the fleece, the orange fleece, okay? And then I said, I'll put on the Pumpkinfest volunteer shirt, okay? It's got the logo over here. And they're different oranges. And I'm leaving the house, and James says to me, orange isn't your color. And I'm thinking, oh, I am in trouble. We got Pumpkinfest happening, and lots, harvest. You gotta wear.
I know. I have some orange sweaters that I wear on occasion, and somebody said to me, "You look like you're an advertisement for Dunkin' Donuts." At which point I said, I don't include orange in my wardrobe on air anyway.
Oh my God, yeah. Pumpkinfest is happening. I have been working with.
I brought a
sign.
You brought a sign, so we gotta put it up there. I'll hold it.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
okay.
I'll hold it.
All righty, there you are. Okay, so you can see Pumpkinfest, Saturday, October 19th, 2024, and it's at Amelia Park. Now, it's actually on the middle school playground behind the Boys and Girls Club, and it takes place from 11 to 3 in the afternoon, okay? Now, it's... folks say, geez, it's only 4 hours. Well, we have found that when you're doing festivals, that last hour is there are very few people. I mean, everybody seems to want to crunch in and get the free pumpkins, the free candy, to touch a truck, that stuff. And so we've compressed it for 4 hours. 4 hours of entertainment for children is just about the right time.
Yeah.
You've got we give out. Whoa, this year I think it's 1,500 pumpkins to decorate or to carve. When you were a kid, did you carve? I can't remember carving pumpkins.
I don't remember carving them as a kid. As a teenager, I do.
Yeah, oh, sure.
And then not wanting to throw the pumpkin out or eat it, and it would rot on the front steps after a bit. But now, I mean, I don't know.
Nothing like a rotting pumpkin.
Yeah. I mean, I put a small pumpkin on the front steps every year and hope that it doesn't get taken. But usually after it's been out for a couple of weeks, I chop it up and
eat it. You eat it?
Yeah. I mean, I buy sugar pumpkins at the local farm stand.
Yeah.
And I love pumpkin muffins and pumpkin pie. And pumpkin is a...
I did my first and last pumpkin latte last week.
That I do not do. Pumpkin spice is just, I can't handle that. So, and the thing is that Starbucks had them out in the middle of August.
Oh, my God,
it's like, let's bring it down a notch and not push the fall until it's fall.
Oh, yeah. Well, that first week I said, I'm getting it over now. And what the strange thing is that pumpkin spice, I got to do a lot of work in order to taste a pumpkin spice, Mark. I don't know about you.
I don't know if it's a real pumpkin spice that's in it, but all I can think of is if you're pushing that in August, and now Halloween candy has been on the shelves for months, and the Christmas stuff is out.
Oh my God! Yes,
peep season arrives on February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. And when will all of the Easter peeps be in the stores? We just push things too fast.
Oh my God! And the older we get, the shorter the shorter between the holidays. It just seems like my life goes by like that because I'm planning big events like Pumpkinfest. Westfield on Weekends is celebrating. We're going on the end of our 20th year. We began in December of 2023. So December of 2024 is our anniversary year. So we've been around for 20 years. This is our 8th Pumpkinfest. And we've done, you know where Pumpkinfest originated.
I don't, but I mean, it's since I've been aware of things in Westfield, it's always been around.
Oh, yeah.
And but Westfield on Weekends does so much stuff.
Oh, God.
I mean, you've got concerts that happen and
art exhibits.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, we have so much. We have a creative arts center down in it's like, we like to think of it. Oh, although the Westfield Athenaeum is there, but it's sort of like bookends, linchpins of cultural events. Artworks does the in-between outdoor stuff, and we do the indoor stuff. And we're right there at 105 Elm Street, and the folks have got to come down to see the latest exhibit incident. I'll be all over the place. You know me and talking with you. You know, we when we chat, Mark.
We've known each other for, I want to think, I met you when I first came to work at the Springfield Symphony.
Oh, my God.
And 1982, and you were one of the first people I met because you were working for the mayor's office of
Cultural Affairs.
Of Community Affairs.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Cultural and Community had 2 C's. MoCA, it was called.
MoCA, it was called. And, so we've done...
How many years is that? Is that 40 years?
Yeah. Yeah, it's over.
More than 40 years.
More than 40, but we were kids.
I have underwear older than that.
Well, you should probably donate it to the Athenaeum or something. You know.
I'm not. I don't know.
I'll ask Guy McLean comes on the show every once in a while to do a thing called Athenaeum Spotlight, and I'll ask him when the Bob Plasse historical exhibit is opening there with memorabilia, and I'm sure the station here will sponsor.
I'm sure we'll do that.
So moving back to Pumpkinfest.
Yeah.
It's on October 19th at Amelia Park, and it's open it's free.
Oh, it's free?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that in order to do something like this, you gotta raise the dough. So we have great sponsors, and ES Bank and M&T Bank and Westfield Gas and Electric have been there for years and years and years. And then there are golden sponsors. The whole list is right at westfieldonweekends.com. But this year it's really special because we've added 2 special events. Okay. Madison Corbello. Did I say that name right?
I don't know. I know who she is. I've seen photographs of her and heard some of her music.
Yeah, she's from the NBC's TV The Voice, and she really. It's funny because Pete Coles and I were talking. Our great producer here at WCPC. We were talking about the first time I remember Madison was she was like this. In middle school, and she sang for like the pancake breakfast or something that we were having downtown. And I remember thinking, a mother called us and said, could my little girl sing or whatever? And we said, oh, all right. And then afterward, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be like, whatever. And then this voice comes out of this girl that, oh my God. So she goes on. She's one of the finalists in The Voice, and she couldn't be a nicer, more engaging person. So we're doing a concert. She's going to be on the main stage there from 11 till 12:30, and she's going to do 2 45-minute sets. And within those, I think she's doing a costume contest or whatever. So it's going to be a really great thing. But we have that main stage. We have the pep band from the high school, and we've got All-Star Dance Center, and we've got the Westfield High School Show Choir as well. We're trying to keep it as community as possible. But the other interesting thing that we're having this year, we've never had this. We have a professional pumpkin carver. Oh, yeah, the usual that when you carve a pumpkin, the triangles for the eyes, the old thing.
So a real pumpkin carver.
A real pumpkin carver, and she's bringing 2 50-pound pumpkins, okay, that we're going to raffle off at the end of the event. So you can bring a professionally carved pumpkin. And she does these faces within the pumpkin. So, in other words, it's sort of like the Mount Rushmore with like an orange thing to it. Or
so you're going to go to the gym and work out so you can carry that 50-pound pumpkin to their car.
Look. This is as good as it gets.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
When you mentioned Madison,
yeah.
I want to say, she's a talent that emerged from Westfield. And there are a couple of others. I mean, going back years ago,
Tell me.
The actress Ann Petoniak, who starred on Broadway in Night Mother, and she was Tony nominated.
Oh, yeah.
She grew up in Westfield.
Yeah.
And then there are the two Burridge brothers, Josh
They're Broadway
and
folks
Nick.
or something.
They're
right?
Broadway kids. One of them, I think it was Josh, was in Newsies and then Cats, and Nick is... has been in several shows, and I believe now he's the dance captain for Moulin Rouge on Broadway.
You're kidding me.
And one of them...
Are they twins?
No, they're not twins. And one of them starred in the pre-Broadway musical about Betty Boop that is coming to Broadway this year. I don't know if he's in the cast when it opens in New York.
Yeah.
But, there's some incredible talent that came out of Westfield.
Well, I was watching the Emmys recently. When was it? A couple of weeks back.
It was last weekend.
Well, I got Eben Moss Backrack.
He's from Amherst.
And I said to James, remember, and I think you probably work with his father, Eric Backrack.
His father?
The community music school or something?
His father was Eric
He's
Backrack,
from the Bear, everybody,
who founded the community music school in Springfield. And his mother is Renee Moss, who was, I believe, the executive director of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Hampshire County.
Really?
But I remember Eben when I was working in Springfield, and Eric would bring him. I mean, he was like 5 or 6 at the time.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of followed his career.
I love him to death.
It was so great that he got an Emmy for The Bear.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I watch it.
I thought that The Bear, if you want to watch a series that is so much heart, and you think it's sort of like Seinfeld. I mean, like you begin to think, did anything happen during this? I mean, they're especially this season when they really are talking. Well, a lot happened in that when you really think about it, but the family aspect of that and really makes you want to eat. But Eben is just so great, and the lovely woman from she's a Puerto Rican woman who won the Best Supporting Actress. Oh my God, that episode where she's looking for a job and she tries to, and they go back in time and she finds the job. Oh my God.
It's
I can't say enough about it.
It is a must-watch program.
Yeah.
Bob, we got to take a break to acknowledge
sure.
the underwriters that make both of our programs possible.
Oh, wow.
You can catch Bob's program, Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday morning here on the network. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return in just a moment.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plasse, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark TV and Radio. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to watch it again or share it with friends, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. Sitting with me today here in the studio is Bob Plasse from Westfield on Weekends. And Bob hosts a program every Tuesday morning here called Wow, It's Tuesday.
That's right. And we tape it on Mondays.
Well, I know. I know. I mean,
I always get
we're
so
taping.
good.
We're taping this a couple of weeks before it actually airs.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
God! I'm going to be older when it comes on.
Yeah, you'll be 3 weeks older. I mean, I come out here on Wednesdays and Fridays, and tape 3 or 4 shows back to back.
Well, you know what? Your shows are so informative, and you really do the prep. You know,
I try. I mean, I didn't have to prep to chat with you because we chat all the time.
Yeah, sure.
But I do have to prep. I'm doing a series. I'm working on it now. We're in pre-production for 2 things. One, I took my show on the road this summer to Chester Theater and the Mahawi, and we're going to live stream the Berkshire Theater Critics Awards in Pittsfield on November 11th. Really? And Pete Coles and I are working out the details. It'll live stream and then be on YouTube, but we're going to do a pre-show because I always wanted to do a Joan Rivers thing.
No.
Who are you wearing? So I'm going to get to ask that. But the other program I'm working on launches November 15th.
Right.
It's an 8-part series that'll air on Friday mornings at 7 called Survivor Stories. And it's the story of people who have overcome major obstacles in their life and how they did it. And I sort of based it on the idea of what happened to me, with my health things and how I got back on my feet and who helped do it. But I'm talking with several people, somebody who survived the suicide of their spouse, someone who was an actor and director who was in a hit-and-run accident. Some guy ran him over, and he got back on his feet. Talking with an actor who got Bell's palsy and was able to overcome that to go back on stage. A radio journalist who has a stutter and a speech impediment. And various people who have overcome obstacles. So we launched that on November 15th, and I really am so excited about doing this program because it means a lot to me personally.
Yeah. It's funny that I was discussing yesterday, we as we speak, are debuting our Journey Stories, our 3rd exhibit of Journey Stories at Westfield's Creative Arts Center, Wow's Creative Arts Center at 105 Elm. And the Journey Stories really came about because we were in collaboration with the Smithsonian Institute, and they had an exhibit about immigrants and how immigration, why people move from here to there, and the story in America, whether it's moving from the South to the North during Reconstruction or the Pilgrims coming to America. Why did people move and whatever? So we did that story. Then we decided that we would continue this theme of journey stories. And the second journey stories was Faces of Westfield. And what we did was photograph, and it will be on exhibit in March at the university. It was one of our more popular exhibits. Photographs by a wonderful photographer, well known in the area, Bill Hughes. And Billy and I found 12 people who were from other countries who had settled here in Westfield and became citizens of Westfield. And we photographed them in posed or big 18 by 24 color photographs. And then smaller 8 by 10s or 17s or whatever that were character studies of the individual folks. And we had people from Sudan and whatever. And next to each picture, it told the story. Okay, so that was happening. Then we decided that we would do the stories of the different ethnicities in our town that we really need to celebrate. Westfield is a strange town because we have 90.7% white folks, okay? and the rest is our folks of color. However, within that, I mean, it's amazing how what's the word, white Anglo-Saxon white we are here in Westfield. And so wanting to celebrate our neighbors. So our first one is opening and will be on until the end of October. And we went to the Puerto Rican Association of Westfield. And in association with them, we have Journey Stories, the Puerto Rican experience that is there. And it shows through their art and through some complimentary programming, lectures and things about the stories that folks have of why they came from Puerto Rico, which is America. Why did they come to the States, et cetera, et cetera. And as you say, there are so many stories, and those stories we need to hear because we then begin to believe. When you were talking about survival, I worked in AIDS in New York City, and I work with substance users who also had AIDS. And somebody said to me once, well, that must be really awful. I said, what, are you kidding? We laugh all the time, but more than that, I have learned how to survive myself by listening to how folks who are challenged either with substance abuse or being black or Latino or different or gay, and have AIDS during the AIDS crisis. So I think, like, you inspire folks with your story. Other folks, when we see and we hear that we're the same, really down deep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tell my story that often. I mean,
we did it at my show. We told our stories.
Just talked a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't go through the whole thing.
Yeah,
but there were people that came through for me when I was flat on my back in the ICU. Right. One of them is the actor Mark Dold, who stars at Barrington Stage. He was in the Broadway production of The Inheritance and Freud's Last Session.
Oh, really?
And he did those on Broadway. He comes up every year.
D-O-L-T?
D-O-L-D.
D-O-L-D.
He comes up here just about every year to do a show at Barrington. He started in Boeing earlier this summer.
Yeah.
So I'm lying flat on my back, and I was supposed to interview him for ArtSpeed.
Yeah.
And I had texted him and said, I'm in the hospital. I can't do the show. He calls me out of the blue. How you doing? What's going on? And he tells me about his story of getting bladder cancer at the height of his career and assuming that his career was over because once you are diagnosed with a disease, casting directors don't want to cast you because they're afraid something's going to happen.
Insurance probably too, right?
Yeah. And how he got back on his feet. And he told me this story, and he followed up. He kept calling me and emailing me and texting me to see how I was.
Yeah.
And we had known each other probably 10 years, as long as I've been doing ArtSpeed on the air.
Sure.
I've interviewed him once a year.
Yeah.
And this summer, we hung out for a day while he was in the Berkshires. And we started talking about our survival and how we did it. And that's what prompted me to decide to do this series, is talking with Mark Dold.
Oh, man. I applaud you because I've often thought, actually I said this to the mayor yesterday, that in a town that is so lopsided in a way, how do people have experience of the other if we don't hear their stories so that we can compare them to ours and live better that way? So we're so thrilled because we're doing the Puerto Rican experience now, and then in February this is Hispanic Latino Month. There's also an expression that I've learned from Agma Sweeney, the president of the Westfield Association, Puerto Rican Association, Latine, which is Latine with the big E, which because within the Latino community, there's so many different folks from all over the place.
Yeah, I worked in Miami for a year at Miami Opera, and they did operas in Spanish every once in a while.
Yeah.
But there were so many different Latino populations. There were the Cubans, there were the Puerto Ricans, there were the Nicaraguans, and each one of them had a separate culture. The only thing that brought them all together was the language, and even the language was different. It's like we talk with people who have Southern drawls or British accents or Australian accents, and we don't even use the same words necessarily to describe something.
No, it's interesting. We're doing a history. What is it called? From Spain to New York City. A wonderful Pedro Rivera Moran is going to do a lecture about the Puerto Rican culture through art and music and its history. And I think that it is like one of those things. How do people express themselves, and what do we all have in common? As
and you
say,
think about it, all of us have
music.
survival stories.
Yeah.
Music is common. But, I go to dialysis 3 days a week.
Right.
Most of the people that are there are Hispanic at that particular center.
Yeah.
And most of the staff are bilingual because they're helping, the folks that don't speak English well to understand what they have to do. There are a trio of siblings that are all nurses and technicians. And I just assumed they were Puerto Rican because that's the Spanish that I hear all day long.
Right.
And it turned out that the three of them are from Ecuador. And they emigrated one after the other, and they all got into becoming caregivers for kidney people. Amazing. And they have stories, and they tell me little bits and pieces of their stories every day. But what you're doing is, as we tell or we facilitate people telling their stories, we become more tolerant and probably better informed. And in some cases, it helps us deal with our own issues.
Absolutely right. And I'm so proud of Journey Stories because next year we're going to celebrate the entire Latine population during Hispanic Month. And we're doing the Black Experience in September. Look at this.
Look at that.
All right.
We only got less than a minute here. So how can people learn about Westfield on Weekends?
Westfield on Weekends. If you want to learn about the Puerto Rican Experience show and Pumpkinfest. And we have a children's a series that is an 8-week series of exploration of creativity with a great teacher. But we have all kinds of, I must say that our art show has George Ramirez from Westfield State University and El Pequidor and art, T-shirts, tote bags, everything to sell. And it's so much fun. Pumpkinfest, October 19th, westfieldonweekends.com. You can go to follow me at Plasse Bob at Instagram. I'm always doing these things.
Well, Bob Plasse,
and wow, it's Tuesday.
Always pleasure to see you. Tune in to Bob every Tuesday morning.
Mark, you're going to come on my show? We're going to spend an hour and a half.
We can sure do that. Anyway, we got to take a break to acknowledge our underwriters, so we'll be back with more on the Mark.
Thanks.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State T-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com. www.westfieldpublicschools.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plasse, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio 89.5 WSFD.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. And I have one of my favorite guests, Stefan Czaporowski, who's the superintendent of the Westfield Public Schools and also my co-anchor on a series we did back in the spring with the students of Westfield Technical Academy at Barnes Regional Airport.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And we're rerunning that now.
I saw that.
You know, which has been, I mean, I watched the reruns and I thought, this was one of the better collaborations that we've done together, and hopefully we'll be doing some in the fall.
Absolutely.
I mean, I want to get backstage or behind the scenes, so to speak, of the music programs in the Westfield schools. And you have a guidance counselor joining me on a program that we're taping at the end of the month to help college seniors get into college.
Right. Well, we have an early college program as well. So if students in Westfield can take in 11th grade a stretch course, so they can take English 101 and English 11 at the same time, and it's co-taught by one of our teachers and a teacher from Westfield, or professor from Westfield State University. They can also do that for history. So in your junior year, you can get 6 college credits while you are taking your regular high school classes as well. I mean, obviously, it's a little more rigorous. And then your senior year, you're able to go up to the college, Westfield State University's campus, and take classes there. And if you can't provide your own transportation, we even provide transportation. So our goal is to try to have students graduating that participate in this program with 15 to 18 credits. And really, that's a semester. But, if you want to talk about college readiness, taking college classes will help you get there ahead of time. And I also think there's a cost savings associated with that because our students don't have to pay. So I love our early college program. It's called Westfield Promise, and it's a collaboration between Westfield Public Schools and Westfield State University that I started working on about 10 years ago. And it finally came to fruition in 2015. And then when I became superintendent, we brought it over to Westfield High School.
Yeah, it's a unique program. You don't see that in a lot of school systems.
You don't. I wish it had been available when I was a kid, to be honest with you, because I probably would have taken advantage of that. And I hear good things from our students that are taking advantage of it, and also the folks from Westfield State University. And any student that participates in Westfield Promise is also automatically accepted into Westfield State University if they want to go there. So it's a great little community partnership, which benefits our kids.
How many kids, what's the percentage of kids at Westfield Tech and Westfield High School that go on to college?
So it's interesting because it's been going down. And I think you see that happening in a lot of places. And part of it is, I think, the cost that's associated with college now. But Westfield High School ranges about 80%. I would say between 80, it's been as high as 90, almost 90% some years, but last year was closer to 80. And then the Technical Academy for college, all right, specifically, it's about 25%, but that has varied between the years as well. But some of the kids here will go on to additional technical schools, so I guess they're colleges, right? But so it should be, I would say 40.
You can see aviation 40. Kids were talking about going to Embry-Riddle, which isn't a college per se, but you get a degree.
It's a prestigious school as well, and difficult to get into. And we have kids from culinary that will go into Johnson & Wales University or the Culinary Institute of America. And so is that a college or a tech school? I guess that depends. So, the number of students that are continuing their education somewhere is high at both schools, not necessarily a college or university, though. And again, I think a lot of our students are hesitant because, I've maintained this. I feel like some of our colleges are pricing themselves out of business. I mean, it's too expensive for our students to go get these college loans and graduate with the equivalent of a home mortgage.
I have a close friend who has 2 boys, one who's going into senior year in high school and the other who's a sophomore. The senior one is a lacrosse player. Mm-hmm. And he's just verbally committed to a school that's going to give him a 4-year scholarship.
That is a great deal.
Which is a great deal. The other one is a sports person, but my friend has got to look into paying. She says $80,000 to $100,000 a year.
That is
for college.
To me. That is.
I didn't pay that.
No, and really, so you graduate. Let's say with even $300,000 worth of debt. How do you get out from under that?
You don't. At least maybe at some point you will, but that's
20, 30 years down the road. So how are you able to buy a house, a car, the other things? I guess it's just become, so college isn't affordable anymore. And so I think you're starting to see kids from every community look at other options. And I think you've also seen an increase in the popularity of vocational trade type schools or technical schools, because you're able to go out into a career right away, making pretty decent money. And you can continue your education at your pace at a different level, which I see some kids now doing too. And in some cases, the employer will actually pay a portion of your continuing education as well if it's related to the workplace. So people are trying to figure out other ways to pay for it, because $80,000 to $100,000 a year it's really unconscionable. I mean, that's just too much.
It is. So school goes back very shortly.
Yes.
And you're going to have a new school.
Not until the January, but yes. But that is complicating an interesting part of our school year, because we're doing a mid-year move. So we're moving over the holiday break in December.
So no Christmas vacation for you.
And one of the things that, so the teachers need time to move too. So for everybody grades 1 through 12 in Westfield, the first day of school is a full day, and it is August 29th, a Thursday. But for the students that attend Abner Gibbs and Franklin Avenue School, they're going to start on the 28th, and they're going to have a half day on the 28th and then another half day on the 29th, so the teachers can start collaborating. There are other half days as we get closer to the year, so that teachers can move, at least pack and move their stuff up, and then we have hired movers, obviously, to take everything and move it to the new school. Ideally, you'd like to move over a summer, but this school was scheduled for completion in August, so this month. But then in the end, there's an electrical switch that we're waiting for, some kind of switch that still is, had a long-term waiting list from the COVID era, and so. We're not able to open until January, but we're very excited. I mean, I just drove by again. Every time I drive by, it looks fantastic.
I drive into the studio, and it's starting to look complete.
It really is, and the windows are all in, the awnings, and they've even built in the.
Obviously, you've been inside it, right?
Not in a bit, but Pete's going inside, from what I understand, and doing a little tour for us, so that we'll have a video tour, so that we'll be able to show the families and the students, what their classrooms are going to look like and everything else. It's pretty amazing. It really is.
Are the teachers and the kids excited about this move?
Yes. I mean, it's interesting too. Change is difficult, right? And both schools, Franklin and Abner, do not have air conditioning. Now they're going into a place that's air conditioned. But when you've taught in a building for 20 some odd years, you do get attached to your space. But I think the excitement about having the classrooms are just a nice big size. I don't know if you've ever been to Abner Gibbs, Mark, but the classrooms are tiny. And so they're going into these huge rooms with lots of storage and 2 sinks. And just, it's just, I can't wait till it opens and people can see it. And I hope you'll come and see it as well. It just, this is going to be a state-of-the-art school. It is, but a state-of-the-art school for 50 years or more. I mean, it's built to last. And I think as you drive by, you can see it's big.
Yeah. So what happens to the 2 old schools?
So Franklin Avenue School will get torn down. And that's where the new playground will be, and we're putting in a softball field. And incidentally, for the students at Westfield Tech Academy, they need a softball field. Right now they play at Whitney, and they'll have a new field to play. But also, and the community can use it too. But that'll be the playground. So there's a separate courtyard for pre-K and K, which is enclosed. and then the regular playground will be on the other side of the building where the current Franklin is. Abner, whether we surplus it or keep it for a while for storage, we do have a storage issue in our schools, like where we can put things. And it's particularly our records that we're required to save, some up to 50, 60, 70 years. And there are paper copies. I mean, you could scan them, but that is an expense. So we're still looking at that possibility. Again, either we'll surplus it or we will use it for storage for now. But we also know that at the end of this current school year, Fort Meadow Early Childhood Center, which is as old as Abner Gibbs, will also be closing. So, we're going to have that building to manage as well.
I know last spring there were budget issues. I don't know how much of them got resolved. But what kind of challenges are you going to face in the new school year?
I think in terms of budgeting, it's the unforeseen costs that pop up, which happen some years more than others. But every time, for example, if a student is on an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, and then their IEP changes and requires them to go out of district, we have to pay for that, but we haven't budgeted for it. So it might be some of those schools charge as much as $60,000 to $100,000 a year, and those will impact our budget. In terms of staffing, I will say this though, this isn't necessarily a challenge, it's a good thing. We're seeing many more applicants than we had seen for jobs in the last few years. And I think through COVID, we had vacancies that we simply could not fill, and we are almost at full staffing capacity this year, which is good for our students, of course, and our schools. But that's where some of the remaining funds had come. For example, we were able to pave the upper campus parking lot here. We have new tennis courts at Westfield High School opening up this year. A lot of capital projects are going on. We have a $1 million boiler room remodel, new boiler project at Westfield Intermediate School. So there are a lot of good things happening in our schools in terms of projects too. So it's not just having, in general, if I had to summarize, we're very optimistic about the start of this school year.
Did you get a break between last year and the upcoming year?
A little. I took vacation days here and there, yeah. And I was able to go to the Cape, but that was even a work conference too. So, there's a lot to do this summer. It was a busy summer. It's been a busy summer. Planning for the opening of a new school, that's not something that you do. And this is the first new school I've ever opened, right? So this is my 9th year as superintendent. The amount of work that goes into it is a lot. So planning for that. And just as a district, we're focusing on achievement, attendance of students, and so trying to get those pieces into play that occurs at all schools takes a lot of planning, and so we've been working on that. And again, but we're excited. I think I don't know that we're ever going to be over the COVID era that I referred to earlier, but I think it's starting to feel every year that goes by it gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, people are still getting sick. People still have a mindset of being remote and all that, but it gets less and less.
Less and less, and I think, I know there's been an uptick in COVID this summer, right? We've heard about that, and that does make me nervous. We obviously don't want that in our schools because that'll affect attendance, but we don't want you to come to school sick. So it's a conundrum. The state actually. They don't have, they rate schools based on student attendance. And so in terms of their accountability status or what level you're at or whether or not you need assistance. But at the same time, so they don't have any excused absences. So even if a student is out 5 or 10 days for COVID, to them it's not an excused absence, even though at our level we will excuse that absence. It does not count at the state. So when you hear these chronically absent students, and that is a byproduct of COVID. That is resulted as part of COVID. So students that are out more than 18 days in a year or more than 10% of the school year are considered chronically absent. So we're also trying to work on that so that we, and that means means creating a safe and secure environment for our kids so that they want to come to school, so they feel comfortable. And while we always work on that, there are things that we have to do more, I think, to encourage students to come to school. At the same time, we don't want them to come to school sick, though, because then they're going to get everybody else sick, and then your attendance goes ways down. I'm not sure it's a battle where we can overwhelmingly win, but I think we can certainly make a dent and improve our attendance percentages.
Sounds good. We're going to take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters that make your program, Superintendent Spotlight, and my programs On the Mark and ArtSpeed possible. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We'll be right back.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm chatting with Stefan Czaporowski, who's the superintendent of the Westfield schools. He has a program here on Thursday mornings. Right?
Thursday morning. We are premiering September 4th, I believe, yes.
So your show's on a hiatus?
It goes on hiatus for the summer.
Oh, okay. I wonder if they show reruns.
Pete, do we show reruns? Probably.
Yeah.
No.
Best of shows.
Bobby G takes over and does a 4-hour show.
Oh, so other shows might take over. Okay.
So you're looking forward to being back on the
Absolutely. I was almost tempted to say welcome back to Superintendent Spotlight when we came back
ahead
after
and say
that.
it.
No, it's okay. It's all right. But our combined shows, I want to go back to those because we those came out really good, and I still want to say we have some impressive students here in Westfield schools.
And I got to say, not only are the students impressive, but Galen Wilson, who runs the aviation program, he was just one of the best guests ever.
So I've learned if you bring people on and ask them to talk about things that they're passionate about, it goes really well. And he is, I think I've said this to you before, everyone that I've met that is in aviation is super passionate about it. They love it. And that's a good thing for folks that fly in planes like you and I. We want them to love their job and love what they do so that our planes are safe. But I'm just really impressed with the quality of student that comes out of that program.
Not only that, I was so impressed with the enthusiasm that the staff at Barnes Airport have towards this program, and the guard has towards the program, because we did 2 shows together, and I did a third with Chris Willenborg.
That's right, you did.
Colonel Moon. And, I've been out at Barnes a couple of times this summer. In fact, I'm covering theater up in Chester on alternate Fridays, and stopped there for lunch. And I was with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and we watched this huge tanker land and limousines coming out of the back. It was the day before Kamala Harris.
I was going to say, Kamala Harris came here.
Thing in Pittsfield, and see the Secret Service. And Barnes was just buzzing. And I kept looking over at the student hangar because the biplane that we sat underneath when we were doing our show was out on the tarmac.
I think I wish she had come during the school year. I think we would have liked to. I think it would have been nice for us to be included in that. But Barnes is a great airport, and I think utilization is up. And I'm happy that the vice president landed here in Westfield. That was really cool.
It was cool.
How often does that happen? Right?
Not very often. I can't imagine it's maybe the first time.
I think I have not. I mean, rumor has it Amelia Earhart was in the hangar that we currently occupy up there at one point.
I believe Michelle Obama.
It is historical.
I think Obama
Did he land here?
landed at Westfield.
He
Because
did?
Michelle did.
Michelle did.
Oh, because, I mean, the Pittsfield Airport, where Kamala Harris was going to speak, the Pittsfield Airport is real small.
Yes. It makes ours look like
Like this is
like Bradley or something.
International
Yeah,
field.
Exactly.
Are you starting any new programs academically this year?
So I mean, we're enhancing the programs that we have. That is the plan. We're looking to expand programs. We're working toward expanding a couple of programs at the high school. We're looking at a hospitality program potentially, and hoping to have a partnership there with MGM, for example. And we have the Kids Corner, or the an early childhood program there now, but we'd like it to get it. And there are some kids who go in that pathway, and they're able to go to HCC, and they have some articulation credits. But we would like to make it a Chapter 74 certified program, so it would be like a shop, for example, like you have here, where the students would leave with a certificate where they could actually open up their own daycare kind of thing, or go into teaching, depending on which, there's multiple levels. So those are the things we're looking at, but we're not adding that this year. But I will tell you that, two of the other renovations at Westfield High School, the science labs are being renovated right now, and they're almost done. And so they're being refreshed, essentially. I mean, everything worked, but so they're just being refreshed, and the old lab tables that were bolted down, we're moving those out and putting in flexible seating so that the kids can move around. And, that was an earmark from Senator John Vilas, so we're very appreciative of what he's done for us. And the same thing, so that there's going to be a new entrance at Westfield High School, same entrance, but a new procedure. There are going to be two sets of doors, right? So if you've ever been to Westfield High School, you get in the first set, and the main office is way over here, so you have the ability to go to anywhere else you want in the building without checking into the main office. And we wanted to eliminate that and increase safety. It's like a vestibule. So let's say a parent wants to drop off a lunch or something like that for a student. They actually don't have to go in the building anymore. They can just do it through a sliding glass window. So it's to increase safety. The new school will have that. Westfield Intermediate School has that, and we are in our capital plan is to add that at every school. So those are, aside from the tennis courts, which look beautiful, by the way, at Westfield High School. There was an article in the Westfield News yesterday with a picture of the courts. They're the high school colors. They're not typical. So we've really done a lot with that. This has been the year for us of maintenance projects, and everything costs money, so you have to do what you can with the funds that you have.
And you've got so many challenges with such a limited budget.
Right. That's why you do the best you can with what you have. And last year was a very difficult, probably one of the more difficult budget years that I've ever gone through in 9 years as superintendent. And, for varying reasons. I do worry about what's going to happen moving forward. Every time there's even a recession, it affects schools, right? And people, have to understand that we are allotted a budget and we have to stay within our means. So transportation costs are up, electricity costs are up, gas. I mean, inflation affects the schools as well, and it affects our budgets.
As you look ahead, I mean, do you have a wish list of things that you want to do that maybe for your 10th anniversary as superintendents that you'll be able to fund?
One of the things we're looking at is, combining the two schools. And I know there are some people who don't want to do that, but, we work through the Massachusetts School Building Authority to get reimbursed for school buildings. So, MSBA for short is reimbursing 70% of the costs at this new elementary school. So that 30% will fall on the taxpayer here through bonds that the city council voted on. So what does that look like for a high school, And if we tried to build two high schools, that wouldn't work. This school, the portion of the building we're in right now, was built in 1962. Upper campus was built in 1931, and they built a connecting campus in 1994. This school has seen better days.
Better days.
And the high school also, which was built in 1973, but that we've actually been investing so much into the high school that I'm not sure it would qualify for an MSBA grant for a replacement, but I think this school might. So one of the things I'd like to do before I retire is hash that out so that we can have a new high school. There are a lot of communities around us that have them. their schools were in far worse shape than either of ours at the time that they got them. But I think down the road, that I would love for that to be my legacy before retiring, is just getting a new school. And I think some people are worried about having more of a comprehensive model where it's half-day shop and half-day academics. And whereas I think it would be beneficial to do that for students in grades 9 and 10, I think students in 11 and 12 have to remain on the week of shop, week of academics system, because that's what our employers want, right? So we would do a hybrid model, but it would also increase access for students in general. Like, so right now, if a WTA student wants an AP class, they don't have access to it. But if a student from Westfield High School wants to take maybe something in auto tech, they don't have access to it. Maybe just basic car maintenance would be something we could do. So by combining the schools, we are using our resources better. Better utilization, and providing more opportunities for kids while still keeping the integrity of a vocational technical high school at the same time. And think about, one of the things the students don't come to Westfield Tech for is because they don't have, say, a football team or a volleyball team. So, in 8th to 9th grade, those are some of the big factors as to which school you choose. And so they will actually go to the high school instead of coming here, even though they probably would have done better in a trade. So with one school, you could play as many sports as you want, and any extracurricular activities we aren't able to have here. It just opens up more opportunities for kids. And that's really all I try to do in my job every day is really just give kids more options, more things to do, things that they're interested in.
Well, we've only got a minute here, and it's the first full week of August. School doesn't go back for a couple of weeks. What are you going to cram in on a vacation side or playtime in the next 2 weeks?
I don't know yet. I haven't gotten there. I'm still trying to, maybe a long weekend or two between now and then, somewhere in the beach that I enjoy. That would be great. But I'm also excited for the school years to start already. Isn't that something?
Yeah,
I am.
I can believe that. This is the first show that I've taped in almost a month because Pete was away and I took some time off. And I was really ramped up today to come back to work.
Absolutely. And I think for me, work is work, but the kids are what make it the best. So when they're back, it's better. And the staff, right? So now, we're doing administrative things, but being able to interact with the kids and the staff. The first 3 days of school, our central office team is out at the schools greeting staff and greeting the kids because that's the best part of our job.
And one of the things you do very well is interact with the kids. Whenever I have kids from Westfield Tech on a program, they know who you are. Some of the aviation students last spring said, "He's my friend." And I thought, well, that's great. The fact that you interact so well with kids is great.
I love being a principal and a teacher, by the way, and I do miss that. But I do get the opportunity to still interact with students, and I feel like for my own sanity, I need to continue that because it reminds me of your why. You're here for the kids and to make things better for them. So that makes me, when they're succeeding from opportunities that we've provided them, I mean, that's a win. That's success.
Stefan Czaporowski, superintendent of the Westfield Schools. Always great to have you on.
Thank you.
And we will do some co-anchoring this fall. You can catch Stefan's program after Labor Day on Thursday mornings, and it's fun. You should catch it if you have a chance. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next week with another edition of On the Mark.